Middle East tensions continue to rise, and in Europe, President Biden shifts his Ukraine policy in the waning days of his administration. For perspective, we go to Newsmax foreign policy analyst, co-host of the War and Freedom podcast, Dr. Walid Phares. Walid, what brought on this sudden collapse of the Bashar al-Assad regime, the former Syrian president? What happened there?
Well, very quickly for your audience, we have been investigating this. I saw it happening over the hours, how the Bashar units would be trying to respond to the advancing forces, which I call jihadists anyway, and then orders will come from the command of that army, the Syrian Arab army, to withdraw. So something was happening inside his own army, something that has to do with infiltration by the jihadists in his own structure. No response from Russia, little response by Iran, and that basically caused the complete collapse of the regime of Bashar al-Assad. But it doesn't stop here. The question is, who is going to replace him? And I have a lot of things to share.
Yeah. Well, that's my big question. Let's start with who these rebel groups are that toppled Assad. Who are they? Who do they represent? Will there be a new regime, that's better for the Syrian people and stability in the region?
For those who suffered from the Bashar al-Assad and his father Hafez al-Assad regime for 4 decades, I was one of them in Lebanon at the time. I mean, I saw the bombs thrown onto the Christian areas of Beirut. We are happy. Everybody is happy on this side of the Atlantic and there. But they don't know, people who are now celebrating this don't know that they could be repeating what East European people, when they have done and celebrated, when in 1945, they were so happy with the withdrawal of the Nazis, and then they were even cheering the tanks of the Soviet army, only to realize that for another 6 decades, they will be under the yoke of the Soviet occupation. So what's happening now is something very similar. The forces, the Tahrir al-Sham organization, which claimed to be the main power, was Nusra, was Al-Qaeda. So what we expect now is to see a jihadi regime trying to establish itself with all the camouflage that you want, Raymond.
Families and rescue teams have rushed in to that notorious Damascus prison where detainees are still feared to be held underground. Many Syrians disappeared, as you referenced a moment ago, under Bashar al-Assad's rule. They emerged, they were reunited with loved ones. What are you hearing about their condition and the release from captivity? And again, are we being distracted from the real story, which is a jihadi regime being constituted in the background of all these happy reuniting of families and former prisoners?
You got it 100% right, Raymond. Basically, what's happening is a delayed feeling of what is going on geostrategically. The Syrian population, the majority of the Syrian population, has been so much brutalized by the Assad regime, as I said a little bit earlier. They would need months and months to, first of all, recover all those who have been abused in prisons and tortured in prison. Books could be written about the violence against the civilians. It would be like another form of Khmer Rouge or Stalinism happening in Syria. At the same time, the force that is coming to take over are very smart. They are backed by all the jihadists. Their leader is very tactician. He knows exactly what to do. Yeah, you have to celebrate the fall of Assad. You have to recover your loved ones from these horrible prisons, and they are very horrible, but we are taking over at the same time. That's the drama that Syria is. And this has been done, by the way, in the interim between 2 administrations in the United States. We cannot do anything at this point in time, or very little thing, to at the same time making sure that the jihadists are not going to be taken over.
Yeah, Walid, I will add this. The United States did order the Biden administration more than 75 strikes on ISIS camps to stop those terrorist groups from taking advantage of the upheaval. My question is that effective? Is that enough? Or is that just to say, look, we tried, but there was nothing we could do?
I tell you what I know. If the president-elect, the current administration can't do much anymore, plus they are sending billions of dollars to the Islamic regime in Iran. It's like crazy what's happening. The president-elect, Donald Trump, from his position, from Mar-a-Lago, should issue a statement saying that the United States will not accept the seizing of Syria by jihadists, by al-Qaeda, graduates, if you want, and we want all minorities to be protected. That will bring attention from the world to what's happening now in Syria. Because if we don't do anything, we're going to go for another long war that the president-elect doesn't want to anyway.
Wow. The U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken said Monday that the toppling of Bashar al-Assad's regime presents a, quote, historic opportunity, but also carries considerable risks. Boy, is that an understatement. But what are the risks here?
The risks are that we are going to have a jihadi regime, much more powerful than Afghanistan, and all the weapons we sent with them to Afghanistan. It's going to be much more powerful than any single jihadi organization in the world, all sitting in one place on the Mediterranean, getting money later and soon enough from the gas in the Mediterranean, invading parts of Lebanon, and at the end of the day, two things very dangerous could happen. And we could discuss it in the weeks and months to come. One, they're going to try to link up with the borders in Lebanon, so they are on Israel's border in Syria. But guess where is the most dangerous thing? They may overwhelm Jordan. That's the real fear.
Wow. Look, there's a valid concern also about the safety of Christians in Syria. The Archbishop of Homs, Jacques Murad, in Syria said this week, "This is the end of the great history of Christians in Aleppo," end quote. Is the Archbishop right? And what is the status at the moment in the region, Walid?
No, totally. You're right. And he's right, actually. The Christians will be a target, but not immediately. You know, I don't know. Somebody was making a statement, oh, they have not yet persecuted the Christians. They're not stupid, these jihadists. They're not going to start in the midst of them installing their regime, going and persecuting Christians, but they are persecuting another minority. They are ethnic cleansing. That's what I've learned this morning. The Alawites. The Alawites are the community of Assad, but they don't like Assad. So that would lead to what? An ethnic cleansing of the Alawites from the northern western area of Syria. And guess what they will get? They will get the coast. 175 miles of coast. The Russians are leaving. Jihadists will have bases on the Mediterranean. That is an earthquake, in my view.
Wow. I agree. That would be terrifically horrible. President-elect Donald Trump met with the president of the Kurdish regional government in Paris last week. Walid, what does collaboration with that Kurdish regional government mean for the region and for the U.S.? Do you think it'll have any impact?
First of all, Donald Trump, since the days of when I was advisor, before he was elected in 2016, he knew that the Kurds are very important. All Kurds, not just one community of Kurds. And he said, we need to arm them. We need to have them as a defense with us. We need to have them as a small Israel deep inside the Middle East. And they are progressing. The Kurds in Erbil, the capital of the North Iraq government at this point in time, have nothing to do with those jihadists around them. So we need to have them in our alliance. And I think Israel is reaching out as well. The president of Kurdistan, KRG, and the prime minister as well have made proposals to the U.S., including to the incoming administration, that there will be very loyal allies and they are needed in the fight against this huge wave of jihadism, should it be from Salafi jihadism, al-Qaeda, etc., or still the remnant of these Shia fundamentalist Khomeinist militias that are still in Iraq and obviously inside Iran.
Walid, we will leave it there. Iran, an imperialist republic, and U.S. policy is available at bookstores everywhere. Dr. Walid Phares, thank you for being here. And Merry Christmas.
Thank you so much, Raymond. Thank you. Merry Christmas.